So the case I'm looking at today is the 4 Idaho students that were brutally murdered in their home on the November the 13th, 2022, the early hours of the morning. And this was a tragic, tragic case of 4 young lives taken away, and I believe because of a fit of jealousy or rage. Alright guys, if you feel the need to engage with the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the notification icon if you'd like to be alerted to future uploads. Alright, let's begin. A couple of days ago, I actually received a message that I'd tweeted out on Twitter, of course, and I received an image, and this image takes place during the attack. And the 2 victims I'm seeing are in the bed. It's the female in the bed closest to the wall, or let's say closest to the side of the house, that was actually startled and woke up during the attack, I believe. I see her waking up and realizing what's going on. And this happened subsequently as her partner was being attacked. Okay. Now, there was one attacker stabbing the partner, and there was one standing behind the attacker watching on, and I almost have a feeling recording the event. Okay? And the woman in the bed definitely recognized at least the person standing behind the attacker. So there were definitely 2. I believe there were at least 2. And last night I picked up that there could possibly have been a 3rd, but I'm going to go deep into that. So I'm just going to focus on the image I received, and that's the female, brown hair, waking up, being startled by this attack. And I would say that the person filming or standing behind the attacker is definitely known to these people. Okay. And subsequent to receiving that image, and let's just focus on that image for a bit first. All right, so now we just need to determine the sequence of events here. And this is interesting. Well, this is the challenge with these kind of situations, that you have multiple victims as well as multiple perpetrators. And I guess the big question is, were the 2 other roommates involved? And that's the second time I'm getting told that the roommates were involved, the other 2, somehow or some way. Even if it's not that they didn't kill the other 4 housemates, let's say, even if they didn't kill, physically do the act, were they involved in some way or form? And I kept on showing the keypad on the front door. Okay. So how did these guys get in? And we know that when the police arrived, that the front door was open. Many people have been students, and we understand. I lived in the digs when I was a student, so I can appreciate, living in a commune with several students, and if something happens, it affects the entire household. Now, it's plausible, obviously, that the 2 roommates at the bottom didn't hear anything, being like early in the morning, we in a deep sleep. Had we been drinking the night before, then that adds to the deeper sleep. Yeah, but I keep getting shown this keypad. There's something significant. Did the assailants, or let's call them the 2 perpetrators, or the perpetrators, did they have the key code, or did they know the key code, or were they let in to the house? Okay. Now, when I wrote down the 4 names, Madison, Kaylee, Zayna, and Ethan, and just doing a breakdown of their names, I can see, I believe. Now, let's just go one step back. This all occurred on the early morning hours of November the 13th, 2022. Now, that 13 equals a 4, but it's a 13-4. Now, 13-4 is in numerology is a death or endings or new beginnings or death and endings. So that would highlight the murder that was taking place or murders. Now, the 11, I keep saying this, the 11 people with 11 twos have the power to do such amazing things in life. They can bring people together for the better good. It's a power number. It's ensuring that people come together with a single purpose. But on the other hand, it can be a very corrupt, dangerous, violent, deceitful, violent number. And that's the violence of the day. That is definitely obvious, and that is also extracted from the year 2022, which is a 6, which is very violent, aggressive, violence. You've got the 13-4, you got the 11-2. So in the day, in other words, or when the sun sets, is a 6, which is also very violent, aggression. But in this case, we're seeing that 6 is that violent attack with a knife attack. And there's definitely two perps, definitely two perpetrators. So the outcome of that day, November the 13th, is a 12-3, okay? And this is all about control, abuse. If you look at, and this is not to scare everyone, so just when I talk about this, don't start looking at your date of birth and all that kind of thing. But usually there's a high, how can I put it? In most cases, in a lot of times, when there are murderers involved, whether it's male or female perpetrators who have murdered their partners in particular, so this is more like intimate crimes of passion, you'd always find the number 3. And especially if someone has a life path of 3. Now remember, we all have a choice. We either live this life in a good way and a bad way. Now that's putting it very simplistic, right? Now, you'll find a lot of serial killers or killers of with partners have a life path number 3. And the outcome of this day was a 3. So I would say this was definitely premeditated. And I see these numbers, the 12-3, already exist the day before. So this was definitely being planned, premeditated. And this is why I keep getting that there was a silent third person. There's a silent third person here involved. Now, whether this third person, so 2 were doing the act of murdering, right? But there was there's definitely a third person in the background, whether they were waiting in a vehicle to drive them away or gave them access to the property. Okay? And I keep getting shown, now again, I keep getting shown that door keypad. Okay? Now, it's plausible, and of course, all these readings are alleged, and I'm not going to keep saying alleged every 2 minutes because that will disrupt my flow. So the disclaimer's up front. I believe there's a good probability, and I'll go deep into that the 2 perpetrators entering the property were either given the code to the door, to get in, or that third person physically opened the door for them. Okay? So someone leaked the code to these people. Or they would have known the code from being around the house. Okay, so let's also clarify that the code could have also been known to these 2 perpetrators because they had possibly visited one of these victims at some point and knew the code. Yeah, I keep getting shown this keypad. So the keypad is key here. So, and there's definitely a silent third person somewhere here. Alright, so I'm going back to the image of the attack. Yeah, I'm still getting the feeling that someone had the audacity, or one of the perpetrators had the audacity to film this on a new phone, and I'm seeing it's a female. I definitely get the sense that the person standing behind the person killing the 2 that I'm referring to was female. And I'm just trying to pick up if the second, or the person doing the actual act of killing the male, was male or female. But the one standing behind is definitely a female. Hey? I'm definitely picking up a female. And it's not female energy. So it could have been, let's say, it could have been a male, but with female energy. Now, the outcome of the day being a 3 is also female energy. Okay? Number 3 is also the symbol for female energy. And I believe, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but if I go back to the day before, the outcome of that day was a 11-2. So I believe the day before, and I'm getting goosebumps here. Wow. The day before, the 2 people decided to kill these people. All right. Now, why? Okay, so let's ask the question. Who was the primary target out of these 4? And the other 2 that were killed, were they killed because obviously they were in the house at the time? Okay. But then it also asks the question, why weren't the 2 other housemates not killed or even attempted to be killed? Because surely you don't want to leave any witnesses, right? If it's the case, and I believe that the keypad code or the keypad was known to these victims, they would have known to the perpetrator, let's say, they would have known about the other 2 people in the house. Sorry to say. So I believe the main targets, or the targets, were Madison and Kaylee in this case. Okay. And the reason why I say that, I can see it in their names, that Kaylee definitely had the 11-2, and Madison, let's just have a look here. Yeah, so we've got the 6 in Madison, and we've got the 4 as well. Remember the 13-4. And with Kaylee, we've got a 3. So I would say then the primary target was Kaylee. The primary target was definitely Kaylee, and she has the 11-2 outcome as well. So Madison and Kaylee were definitely targets, and I would say Kaylee being the main primary target that would have initiated this sequence of events, this tragic events for these students. And of course, just a week or so before Thanksgiving in America, you know. Yeah, I would say with Zaina and Ethan, yeah, you know, they were, how can I put it? They were in the proximity of Kaylee and Madison, let's say, right? So now I haven't looked at who slept where, because there was another case I was going to do, and then I got caught up in the research, and I try not to do. I do very little research for various reasons, and the main reason, I don't want to get bogged down by other people's comments or what the police are saying. I want to look at it as clean as possible. So I've kept this as clean as possible in terms of not being influenced. But I'll definitely say Kaylee was the target. Madison, as a consequence, she has a death number 4 and ends in a 6, which is the outcome of the day and the year. Very violent. So I would say the anger and the violence was perpetrated against Kaylee. And if I look at Kaylee, 11-2, the day before is also 11-2. Something may have happened with Kaylee and the person. Now, this was an impression I picked up before. There could have been on the day before, there could have been an incident or a situation, and I believe the female that she would have had the issue with contacted someone else or had a friend that would do this. So I think the person that Kaylee might have had a situation with the day before, was very angry, of course, and was furious, but had a friend who would then sort the situation out, and of course we know how it was sorted out, the wrong way. So I believe there might have been a situation the day before with Kaylee and someone else, and that would have been a female, possibly a female, who then contacted, and I'm still feeling that it was a male, that the second person was a male. Hey, I'm picking up the second person was a male. So if I look at the image of the attack, and it's quite a terrible image, I must say. I believe it would have been Ethan being attacked, and I believe it would have been Zaina that would have, excuse the pronunciation, Zaina, would have been the one that would have been startled and woken up during the situation. Oh, it's a terrible thing, this. But I kept on getting drawn to it. So there's definitely significance around the keypad. Whoever went into that house knew the code. They definitely knew the code, or were given the code, or were given access to that house. Now, of course, I don't have the names of the two other roommates, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to have looked at that, and I don't want to research too much, but I'm definitely, the image of the keypad is key in this case. So someone knew the code or were given the code. I believe one of them got injured, and it feels like the female had some kind of injury to her left hip area, left region of the hip area. There was definitely some kind of, whether she was hit herself or with a blade or with the handle of the blade, but I believe her left hip was injured during the attack. Yeah, I got to say that personally I feel it's very odd that that the bottom two housemates have been excluded, when in fact, and maybe they're just excluded, to see what these guys do, but definitely feels like there was an inside job element. There's an inside job, inside knowing of information that was given and received. Involvement somewhere. Now, if I look at, this is also interesting as well. If I look at Madison 21, that's a 3. If I look at Kaylee as a 3. So these guys were definitely the target. So Kaylee was definitely the target, and Madison was a target, but I'd say more so Kaylee was the target. Zaina and Ethan being a 2, that's in the month, as a consequence of being there. But I believe the main attack was on Kaylee. All right, so let's just see evidence. Where will we find the evidence now? I haven't got too much into the autopsy reports or the evidence gathering. That photograph of the blood coming down the side of the house, that was just horrific. And struck a community, at this time of year, a senseless murder of students over a stupid argument, or someone getting pissed off with someone else. It's so immature. Intellectual capacity is almost zero when people resort to violence. They just have their own issues. But this was all about control. This person wanted to take control of the situation, show who's boss, and show these beeping people what she's going to do about it and what they're going to do about it. This was definitely a, how can I put it? It was, yes. So what I'm trying to get to, it was a violent crime, but there was anger in this person. The person that sought revenge was like determined to slaughter these guys. But I believe the keypad is key. Someone either gave them the code or they knew the code somehow. And there was definitely someone else involved here. Now, let's say, for example, those two housemates, one of them might have given the key out or the code to someone. I don't know. The keypad is significant. Let me focus on that keypad. I keep getting shown the keypad here. Yeah, definitely the perpetrators had the code. I can see them typing in. They definitely had the code before. Huh? So look, I would definitely say that the female of the two that were the attackers was known to the woman that woke up. So they could have been there before, could have walked in with them. They know the code. People share codes. I just had like a pull away of the perpetrator. The main perpetrator has like, it feels like this person like ran away, has left the area. The main perpetrator intentionally left the area. Or has now recently left the area. The main perpetrator, let's say in the image that I was given, the person that killed Ethan, has recently left the area. And they are going to get caught. These guys are going to get caught. And what I mentioned in my tweet is that these people could cover for each other. They might not live together. I don't think they live together, the perpetrators, but they will cover for each other in their alibi. So we've got to really look at this. So I would say that these perpetrators, you know, if you say you're in a core or you're very close friends, now we're not going to say family because these kids were away from their families, but let's say in their main circle would be their closest friends. And I would definitely say that the people known to them were definitely in the second circle, would have been friends, acquaintances, fellow students. They were definitely known and considered a friend, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Were considered as a friend in this situation. So that the female person, and I keep seeing blonde hair, is definitely known to the victim or victims, definitely. So this was an inside job, and I believe the people were definitely known. They knew the code or had access to the code, that keypad code. You know, it's a terrible situation where you have these young lives, promising young lives, beautiful people, that gets slaughtered like this. It is just terrible, absolutely terrible. I can tell you that image, I'm going to keep going back to that image, the other person stabbing, I believe, Ethan. Man, I'm seeing a lot of dark, like very black energy and rage, but just evil, man. Just absolutely evil. Now, you know, when I do these readings, I do a meditation before, and I you know, it's like, you know, being psychic, you have to, yes, I will get messages throughout the day, but when you go in depth, you want to go into a meditation. It's like I'm G'ing myself up, I'm raising my levels, I'm raising my psychic awareness. I listen to specific music that triggers my psychic ability. You know, this guy would have done the same, or these people would have done the same. They would have, and it feels like they were getting ready the night before already, and they would have been G'ing themselves up. And that's what I'm seeing in this person stabbing Ethan, is that this person was like, had raged, you know, was in so much rage and anger when they were killing these people. And I must say, I'm going to say it anyway, I find it very strange that the two other housemates have been ruled out. And of course that can change. But there was definitely help getting into this house. There was definitely help getting into this house. Thank you for watching. Please leave your comments and suggestions below. I would love to hear from you. And I will see you in the next one. Stay safe and stay alert.